How's it going, guys? Coach G here, ComplEat.com. I thought I'm going to show you today how to use kettlebell. Shall you jump into kettlebell training or not? And in the end, I'm going to show you my favorite kettlebell movements. So stick here, let's jump into it. First, how heavy kettlebell should you use? Well, since kettlebell are getting popular, they're starting to do very light kettlebells, like 4 and 6 kilos. I wouldn't recommend any kind of kettlebell user. So the kettlebell has to be heavy enough that you cannot lift. If you can lift the kettlebell, you're never gonna see benefits as the power training or increase in performance, because you're not going to use your hip hinge. So that's what I see the most in beginners on my classes or teaching clients. Obviously they don't know how to hip hinge and they just lifting kettlebells like so, and they're too light and they don't see any benefits. So the first thing what you need to realize is how to choose a kettlebell. Now there's two types of movements what you can kettlebells for is either stabilizing or dynamic power movements. For stabilization, yes, I suggest to use light kettlebells, and you should use light kettlebells until you don't know how to do the movement properly. So let's say it's a Turkish get up or a single leg deadlift or overhead pressing. I would suggest, yes, use light kettlebells. There's always stability exercises, so the focus is not to building power and strength or muscle. It's more like working on the stabilizer joints, stabilizer muscles, all the muscles around the joints. So yes, start using like kettlebells, get the movement right, and then you can increase the weights as the time goes on. For dynamic movement, as I just said before, you have to use something what you cannot lift. So any kind of movements like a swing, go heavyweight, no lighter than 8 kilos. For ladies, men's, they can easily go to over 16, 20, maybe 12 for beginners, but over 10 kilos for sure. The first movement, what you need to learn is the hip hinge. Because everything comes from a hip. So if you're talking about kettlebells, it's going to be a dynamic movement most of the time, especially in classes. If you jump into kettlebell training, they're going to ask you a lot of any kind of swing variations. Could be a suitcase swing, a normal swing, one hand swing, but everything is going to start from the hip. Even if you do a snatch or a clean, it's going to start from your hip. So you need to be able to do that hip hinge movement, which is not a squat, so don't squat down. It's just bending your hip back and pushing it forward. So create the power from your hip, and then you have to swing the weight. So we're not lifting the weight. You can either hold it with 2 fingers and you're going to be able to bring the weight up even if it's very heavy, because you're not lifting your weight, you're swinging it. So this is obviously much stronger, bigger muscle. You can create a lot of power with your hip to lift up the kettlebell. So the first thing you have to learn is the hip hinge. As long as you don't know how to hip hinge, then I wouldn't suggest to start kettlebell training or jump into any climb classes, because I see the most from beginners that they just jump into kettlebell training without know how technical it is. So definitely tell to the instructor that you are beginner, or if you starting kettlebell program on your own, then you need to start with really basic movements and learn the correct form, starting with the hip hinge, because that's the basic of all kettlebell movements. So let me show you how a hip hinge works. So make sure you grab something what you cannot lift to practice on it. If you don't know hip hinge already, then you can practice without the bell to get the flow ready. Just a swing is just like a forward jump, so you want to really push your hip out and then create the power from your hip, and then really lock your hip out and then get the swing up. So it looks like this. You can hold it here and then you really swing it up. As you can see, this is a pretty heavy kettlebell, but I'm able to do it even with just fingers because I don't have to lift it. Once I get the flow, I just need to follow the movement of the kettlebell. So you just have to control it, just to don't let it drop it. But once you get the flow done, you just need to move with the kettlebell. So if the kettlebell comes down, it's going to dictate the tempo for you, and you just need it. It's good for cardio as well, but mainly for building power and endurance in the same time. So I suggest really use really heavy weights for any kind of swing, snatches, high pulls, anything which started from your leg, you should use heavy weights. And for stability exercises, yes, you can use light weights. If you want to work on, let's say, the shoulder stability exercise, and then you can turn the kettlebell upright like this, upside down. So it really works on the, and if you hold away from your body, so if you see my elbow is up here and the kettlebell is really shaking, so it's really challenging my wrist and my shoulders a little bit. And if you're walking with it, it's gonna be even harder just to keep it stable. Every exercise you can use as a stability exercise. So if you want to work on your stability and balance, then yes, use light weights. So let's say if it's a lunge and you want to work on your stability and you're not good in lunge, then yes, it's an off balance from one side. So if I'm here and I'm lunging back, yes, it's creates some imbalances here, but I don't use the lunge as a stability exercise, more like a muscle builder exercise or a power exercise because of the fashion. So if you cannot do a back lunge without falling, then yes, it's gonna be a stability exercise for you, but it's because your muscles are a little weaker, or maybe you're a beginner or you had an injury, and then it's gonna serve you as a stability exercise. But I'm able to hold heavy weights on it and still do lunges. So I would use a back lunge as a muscle builder rather than a stability exercise. So every exercise you can use a stability, but if it's like a muscle building, then use it. What is it for? Grab a heavy weight. If you're not a beginner, then use it for that. If you're a beginner, learn the movement first before you jump into kettlebell training, because it can be technical, it's really technical, and you can get injured easily. So follow instructions, learn the movement first, correct form. Once you get the correct form, you can start lifting heavy weights. But before that, just be careful, because you can get injured or you can hurt yourself. Learn the technique first, and then once you're good with it, you can use heavier weights or advanced program. I hope that helps. I'll catch you in the next one. And now I'll show you my favorite movements for kettlebells. Before you go, I just want to thank you for watching. And if you are about to change your body but you don't know where to start, go and have a look on my website and sign up for my online training. Or if you are in Brighton, come and see me in Pure Gym. Check out my Facebook for daily tips and my Instagram for motivation. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.